Zimbabwe cash crisis. We're talking about Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RTD news. And so it's been a minute since I've actually done a news update of this kind, but I figured since I posted a recent article to the RTD blog, I figured I would just shoot a little video with it. But more importantly, it has to do with what's currently underway. And it looks like this week will be a key week for what the president, I assume, is looking for in the form of easy money, or as this article here, we're talking about him commenting on pumping money into the system and how it seems like China and the EU are beating us with the easing thus far. But yet, I wanted to share my thoughts briefly, but more importantly, I'll put the link to this article here beneath this video. But I thought it was time to break out this visual aid here that I did about 2 years ago and update a little bit. Because as you guys can see here, every president throughout the last 106 years have played their part in the devaluation of our national currency, aka the Federal Reserve note, also known as a dollar. And so as of now, as you can see above my shoulder, President Trump, as of now, is slightly below that 0 point. And so I kind of put that there on purpose because I believe that between now and this next term, if he ends up becoming the next, getting a second term, we might end up seeing the final fate of the Federal Reserve note as we know it today, because it looks like all the actions and all the policies are pointing towards the central banks wanting to get ahead of the recession situation before it becomes problematic, because this is the last go around before there is a need for a reboot of this current monetary system. But before I dive into this article, I want to remind you what's coming. Take a look at this.
The next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.
But yet, here's an article here. It says, hyperinflation, final warning. Trump tweeted about pumping money for the 4th time this month. And so this is an original article from a friend, Paul Half Dollar. But yet, I wanted to share with you here because I think Paul did a great job of giving us a timeline according to how the president has used his social media account in the form of Twitter by referencing 4 times this month on the idea of the U.S. being outdone in regards to pumping money to prop up economies, i.e. to more so spur trade or whatnot in this whole trade war situation. But I'll just thumb through it briefly, share some of my thoughts, but more importantly, you can find more information at the beneath of this video here. But it basically talks about hyperinflation of the dollar isn't coming. He said it's already here. And then he points to the fact that over the last 100+ years, as you can see from the visual aid of the president's faces, every president has played their part. And so we got these gray bars here, which meant the policy was implemented by the Federal Reserve that led to more of the monetary base expanding in the form of more currency being brought into circulation, paper form as well as digital form as we move more into the 60s and 70s. But as you see here, every recession has led to some type of dip in the value, purchasing power of the Federal Reserve note. And so as of right now, we're at the very brink of it touching zero, or however that might play out. But yet President Trump might be the one that sends it over the cliff completely. Then Paul goes through some things here talking about the crack up boom, and in a sense basically saying that as of now, hyperinflation is already present if you look at the amount of purchasing power that is lost. But the crack up boom, in quotations here, has to do more so with confidence, because confidence is not lost entirely from the public. The dollar is still of value, but yet it looks like Trump is trying to basically ramp this thing up more to where he sees a need for more easing. And I think these tweets here, especially this tweet here today, plays a major role or will play a major key in this upcoming Wednesday when Jerome Powell delivers his FOMC speech, when everyone is anticipating them dropping rates a quarter point, give or take. So, but just give an idea what's going on. It says the EU and China will further lower interest rates and pump money into their systems, making it much easier for their manufacturers to sell products. In the meantime, and with very low inflation, our Fed does nothing. So once again, we got a president that's one of a kind. The fact that he is openly challenging the Fed policy to date, and he's not ashamed of it, because he is literally going to be the gentleman that probably oversees the last bit of purchasing power of this current Federal Reserve note. And so he said the Fed does nothing about it, which puts a lot of pressure on them to kind of, hey, say this president continues to bash our organization. We got to do something. And so I believe that something will probably have to do with cutting rates, because they put themselves in a position as this monetary system based upon debt starts to unravel. But then he goes through more quotes here from earlier last week where he talks about inflation. And he quotes, quantitative tightening is continuing, making it harder for our country to compete as good. Therefore, this quantitative tightening, withdrawing liquidity out of the system, does not help when you have other nations, as he's referring to here, pumping money into the system here. So he goes through a couple more quotes here, but I encourage you to take time to read more of this for yourself. But yet, everyone knows how active our current president is on Twitter. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is this week will be a key indicator of where our economy goes from this point on. And in my opinion, as well as a lot of other commentators, there's no pretty end in sight, because the only way this thing can keep going is for them to continue to pump money in the form of them dropping rates, which incentivizes those on taking out more debt to keep this thing going. And so I would encourage you to take time to thumb through this more in depth for yourself, but I just wanted to shine a little light on it, and more importantly, bring attention full circle back to what I think this really boils down to, and it has to do with this visual aid right here. Here we have President Trump, who might be, in my opinion, the last president that oversees this current debt-based monetary system, because not only do we have a lot of people talking about gold, we see gold prices as of today and silver prices of today, they're up a little bit because of all this talk, all this chit-chatter, all this fear and panic in the markets on regards to this quantitative easing or this hyperinflation warning that's being given here. And so ultimately, no matter what political side of the fence you're on, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter, because here we have a key indicator of all the prior presidents, regardless of parties. They've all played their part in the devaluation of our national currency, aka the dollar. And so, in my opinion, this gentleman right here will be the last one that oversees this current note that we all have come to depend upon, trust as a somewhat of a medium of value, even though in comparison to what it's done throughout history, it hasn't really done many people any justice overall. But yet, because of this type of stuff here that's going on, these tweets, the policies that's about to be implemented in an environment where we're not even in an official recession yet, there's going to be more debt that leads to deficits, that leads to capital and wealth destruction at the end of the day for those that are not aware and in tuned, and basically playing this game along with them, but from the other side of the spectrum, where you're actually getting your weight up, getting physical, and doing things to preserve and protect yourself, because once again, there's no future in a Federal Reserve note, as we can see here. And I think tweets and posts like this pretty much shines a light on where all this is heading. So I want to take a quick minute, share my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this visual aid here? Is this can they string this thing out a little bit longer? And can there be another president that I'll end up putting over here in the next couple years that can kind of string this current note along any further than it has gone thus far? Curious to find out. And if you find this information informative, which definitely this stuff is important, no matter how you look at it, feel free to share this. Take this visual aid here, share it with your family and friends, because everyone can agree here that this purchasing power here has gone down, because it basically reflects on the fact that it costs you more for the basic things. Everyone here can relate to the fact that, this note here, it takes more of these things to get basic goods and services that 10, 20, 30 years ago, it wouldn't have cost as much nominally as it does now. So there's no way of denying the fact that this thing right here is becoming very problematic, and after this week could be the start of something that will become a normal policy in the form of quantitative easing to infinity. So other than that, love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. More importantly, give us a thumbs up. Also, scroll below for more information in regards to free resources or whatnot. And I look forward to bringing more news updates. Enjoy your day. Thanks.